Welcome back everyone. Workbook Solutions, Tithonus, written by Alfred Lord Tennyson. A long pending video on request, a one-shot session. In today's session, I'm going to discuss 9 very important questions, short answer questions from this poem. And the word limit according to the new pattern is 100 to 150 words. For your short answer questions, the word limit is 100 to 150 words, and long answer questions, the word limit is 200 to 250 words. Do check the pinned comment section for all important video links related to your syllabus. Come on, let us start today's discussion. It's question number 1, a very important question. What does the speaker want to suggest by giving the examples of the woods and the vapors? Why? This is there in your Morning Star workbook. What is the answer? Tithonus begins with a description of the withering world. Withering world, decaying world, highlighting transience of life. Number 1. Number 2, passage of time. Number 3, inevitability of death. Number 3, this is the introductory statement. An introductory statement is of utmost importance. I have directly established a connection between the question and the answer. This is a very specific and crisp introductory statement. I have added critical comments in the introductory statement itself. Transience of life. What is the meaning of this? Short-lived nature of life. Nothing is permanent. Ephemerality of life on earth. Passage of time. We have the flow of time, the march of time, and it is merciless. It is relentless. Time waits for no one. Inevitability of death. Death is inevitable. We are all going to die. No one can escape death. So these are the basic concepts, and the introductory statement highlights these basic concepts. The speaker's words. Who is the speaker? Tithonus himself. And I have quoted from the text. The woods decay and fall suggest that he has seen forest after forest rise and rot away. Keep this in mind. He has seen forest after forest, not just one forest. Forest after forest rise and decay, rot away, wither away, revealing his own endless old age, his eternal old age. He is immortal, but he is not eternally young. But he is trapped in his old age, and therefore he has seen many forests rise, and he has also seen them decay and wither away. This natural process of decay in the woods emphasizes the natural cycle of life and death. So the forests are part of the natural cycle of life and death. Tithonus is not a part of the natural cycle of life and death because he is immortal, and therefore he observes sorrowfully how the woods rise and decay. This is the concept about the woods. And now let me just discuss what is this concept about the vapors weeping. This is an image. The image of dew or rain falling to the ground signify nature's cycle of renewal and loss. So this is the image of dew or rain, symbolizing tears falling to the ground, signify nature's cycle of renewal and loss. So vapors also are a part of this cycle, unlike Tithonus. These are visions of release, very, very important. These are visions of release as much as sorrow and death. Tithonus gives these examples to suggest that he is robbed of his only possible release. Tithonus, his condition versus the condition of other natural elements. He is not part of the natural cycle of life and death. He is robbed of his only possible release, and therefore he gives these examples of the visions of release to show his frustration and disappointment. He is robbed of his only possible release. He is suffering the agony of aging without the release of death. Filled with melancholy. Now the second part of the question. Filled with melancholy, regret and longing, Tithonus captures the dreadful pain of his cursed life by giving these examples. So he captures the dreadful pain. Here he laments his transgression of a grave boundary, the law that says all mortals must die. He wanted to be immortal. He is now immortal, but by doing so, he has transgressed the grave boundary. He has violated the limits of certain natural limits. And what is this particular limit? All men are mortal. Therefore, he contrasts his fate with the natural cycles around him by giving these examples. So, this is your answer number 1. 148 words, well within the word limit. So, dear students, these are reference answers. Try to go through this session and frame your own answers. Now, quickly moving on to the next question. It's question number 2. Another very important question. Who is being consumed in the poem Tithonus by cruel immortality? Explain how he is being consumed. So again, there are two subparts. Who is being consumed? Tithonus, a legendary prince of Troy who fell in love with Eos, the goddess of the dawn, is being consumed by cruel immortality. Finished. The first subpart finished. And now I will move on to the second subpart. Explain how is he being consumed. Tithonus suffers the agony of aging without the release of death. Eos made him immortal, yet not eternally young. He has become impossibly ancient. He is slowly devoured. Slowly. This word slowly is important and you must mention this in your answer. Compulsory. How is he being consumed? Slowly devoured by the hours of his life, which will never end. Contrasting his cursed faith with the natural cycle of renewal and loss, he regrets his wish for immortality, personifying it as cruel, a burdensome existence. So this is his miserable plight. This is how he is being consumed by his immortality, and therefore he is cruel. He is withering away slowly in Eos's arms, is reduced to a grey skeleton. Observe how I have quoted from the text. Short quotations from the text. Roaming like a dream, trapped in an insubstantial state. Having lost his youthfulness, once a man, so glorious in his beauty, he is now in ashes with wrinkled feet. This is his present condition. This is how he is being consumed by his cruel immortality. Being robbed of his only release, death, and all pleasures of life, he experiences excruciating pain and loneliness, clearly signified by the word consumes. Time has maimed and wasted him. He is being consumed by cruel immortality with the passage of time. Therefore, time has maimed and wasted him. I have already underlined the keywords and expressions. And here, the word limit is 153 words. You can easily edit this and bring it down to 100 to 150 words. This answer is also very important. Just go through the important words and expressions. It's there on the screen. And now I'm moving on to the next question. Who has been described in the poem as a white-haired shadow roaming like a dream? Why? Again, prepare this answer also very well. Tithonus, a legendary prince of Troy who fell in love with Eos, the goddess of the dawn, is described as a white-haired shadow roaming like a dream. To the point, specific answer. Finish the first subpart. And now, why? This portion needs a little bit of description. The transformation of Tithonus, once a man so glorious in his beauty, into a grey shadow shows the penalty he has to pay for his transgression of a grave boundary, the law that all mortals must die. Very important. Clearly mentioned, it's the transformation of Tithonus that we are concerned about. Use this expression, transformation of Tithonus, once a man in the past, glorious in his beauty, and now at present he is turned into a grey shadow. And what is the critical comment? What does this show? This transformation shows the penalty, the consequence Tithonus has to pay for his transgression of a grave boundary. He has dared to surpass, go beyond the goal of ordinance, where men must stop. But he has gone beyond the limits set by nature. This is transgression, and a white-haired shadow, this transformation is a penalty for that. Tithonus, whom cruel immortality consumes, is withering slowly, becoming impossibly ancient. This image symbolizes his detachment from the physical world. He is in ashes, a mere remnant of his former self in an insubstantial state. So, he is just like a dream, a shadow of his youthful self. There is a contrast, a glaring contrast between the past of Tithonus, the youthful past of Tithonus, and the present, the miserable present of Tithonus. So, past versus present. The relentless passage of time. Time here is merciless, relentless. Time has kept on flowing. Tithonus has kept on aging, but he will never die because he is immortal. The relentless passage of time has marred and wasted him. He is roaming at the quiet limit of the world. Another critical comment, alienated, he is isolated, he is cut off from the kindly race of men, from ordinary mortals, he is cut off. He is alienated and cut off from the ordinary mortals. The expression white-haired shadow, the image white-haired shadow evokes a sense of fading presence and the loss of vibrancy. In the past, he was full of youthful vitality, but now he has been robbed of his vibrancy because of his old age. His hubris. What is the meaning of hubris? His mistake, his fatal flaw. Number 1, his hubris. Number 2, Eos's carelessness at granting him immortality lead to his downfall. And what is his downfall? He is now just a white-haired shadow roaming like a dream. And what are the possible reasons? His own hubris, his own fatal flaw, and also Eos's carelessness at granting him his wish. So this is the answer. 152 words, another compact answer. Analyzing the image, a white-haired shadow roaming like a dream. He is just a fading presence now. He is a remnant of his former youthful self. Who was once a man? Again, the same pattern. Tithonus, a legendary prince of Troy, who fell in love with Eos, was once a man, young, strong, bubbling with vibrancy of life. He was youthful, powerful, beautiful. He was bubbling with zest for life, vigor, vitality. He was once a man in the past, but now things have changed. He has transformed a lot. So what has happened to him now? Focus on this section in detail using quotations and critical comments. He has become impossibly ancient in ashes, marred, wasted into a grey shadow by the merciless passage of time. Observe how I have quoted from the text and framed this sentence. This is how you must practice the art of writing your own answers. Consumed by cruel immortality, he withers in Eos's arms, roaming like a dream at the quiet limit of the world. So this section, dear students, is important. You will get a lot of questions from here. Transformation of Tithonus, past versus present. So description of old Tithonus compared, contrasted with the description of young Tithonus. This is important. Same points, but the framing is different. There is a particular style of writing. You must practice that style. Consumed by cruel immortality, he withers in Eos's arms, roaming like a dream at the quiet limit of the world. He is isolated, lonely, suffering the agony of aging without the release of death. So, what has happened to him now? This is what has happened to him now, one after the other. Physical transformation, number 1. Number 2, emotional, burdensome, existence, isolation, alienation, loneliness, suffering the agony of aging without the release of death. So, I have focused on each aspect of his life. His emaciated appearance is contrasted. So there is a contrast, past versus present. His emaciated appearance is contrasted with his youthful beauty and also vanity. When he was young, he was filled with pride and vanity. His wrinkled fate shows his fragility, fragile existence, his weakness. He feels terribly out of place in the gleaming halls of morn, can no longer enjoy the pleasures of love in his broken old body. He no longer feels the same kind of passion for Eos as he used to feel in the past when he was young. Melancholic, remorseful, Tithonus is paying the penalty for transgressing over the goal of ordinance. He wants Eos to take back thy gift. Now he pleads, Eos, please take back your gift. Envies happy men who can die. Time has maimed him to dwell in the presence of immortal youth. In this way, dear students, I have packed in so many points. So what are the points? Quickly, number 1. In ashes, marred, wasted into a grey shadow by the passage of time. This is number 1. Number 2, isolated, lonely, suffering the agony of aging without the release of death. Number 3, terribly out of place in the gleaming halls of morn. Number 4, can no longer enjoy the pleasures of love in his broken old body. Number 5, melancholic, remorseful, paying the penalty for transgression. Number 6, he wants Eos to take back thy gift. 7, envies happy men. Time has maimed him to dwell in the presence of immortal youth. The conclusion and its point number 7. So, the 5th question, what is it? Whom does the speaker ask to give him immortality, and why does he ask for it? How does he describe the giver of immortality after he gets it? The poem speaker is Tithonus himself, a legendary prince of Troy who fell in love with Eos, the goddess of dawn. He asks Eos to give him immortality. Finish the first part of the question. Now, why does he ask for it? Wanting to be with his beloved forever, Tithonus begs her to make him immortal. Number 1. Reason. Number 2. Filled with self-pride and vanity to be Eos's chosen himself, so glorious in his beauty, he wishes to go beyond the goal of ordinance. Number 2. His fatal flaw. And his hubris, fatal arrogance, makes him ask for it without realizing the repercussions. repercussions without realizing the consequences of such an action. So, these are the reasons why he asks for it. And next, how does he describe the giver of immortality? How does he describe Eos? Eos grants his wish with a smile, as casually as wealthy men who care not how they give. She forgets to give him eternal youth. According to Tithonus, she epitomizes immortal youth. Her eyes are filled with guilty tears as she listens to his regret, is unable to take back her gift, and is sad. Thus, Tithonus, realizing his mistake, describes Eos in this manner. Every day she grows beautiful at dawn, departs, leaving him alone. Question number 5. And now moving on to question number 6. What is referred to by the sentence, but the strong hours indignant worked their wills? What is the effect of its work on the speaker? Eos grants Tithonus immortality with a smile, but the relentless passage of time personified as strong hours. Important. Strong hours, figure of speech, personification, works against his desire for immortality. Tithonus transgresses over the goal of ordinance, goes beyond the limits set by nature. Eos is casual and careless in granting her gift, but time is merciless. Here we'll have to focus on the all-powerful nature, all-powerful time, the passage of time, the flow of time. They are angry. The strong hours are angry and take revenge on Tithonus. Time symbolizes death, inevitability of death, transience of life. He is immortal. Time cannot end him, yet they, offended, leaves him marred, wasted, maimed. Time cannot kill Tithonus because he is immortal. But what have the strong hours done? Marred, wasted, maimed Tithonus. This is their will. This is the penalty for his hubris. So just add the penalty for his hubris. Hubris, fatal flaw. He is now a shadow of his youthful self in ashes, compelled to dwell in the presence of immortal youth. He can no longer enjoy the pleasures of love in his withered old body. Alienated from the kindly race of man, envious of them, he repents. He wants Eos to take back thy gift, painfully realizing the futility of his plea. He also knows that he will never die, so it is useless requesting Eos. Question 7. What is referred to as the dark world? The dark world is the earth. Tithonus is a mortal man. He was a mortal man before Eos made him immortal, and therefore the earth is the birthplace of Tithonus. Why does the speaker want to return to this dark world? Very important. The same concept, but the framing is going to be different. He is trapped, and this shows his bitterly ironic doom. He has trespassed into a realm where all should pause, but Tithonus did not pause. He wanted to be immortal, and now, after being granted his immortality, he is trapped in a bitterly ironic situation. Tithonus' hubris destroys him. He pleads for release from his immortal existence and a return to earth. He recognizes the value of the earth as a resting place where man's mortal journey ends. Very, very, very important. Learn this ditto from here. Those who die on earth are happy men. Tithonus is unhappy as he suffers the agony of aging without the release of death. Having been granted immortality, he varies from the kindly race of men. Other men will die, but Tithonus will not die. This is the point of difference. He has transgressed over a thin line, the limit set by nature. So those who are on earth, they are happy men because they will die and then again get rejuvenated. So it's the cycle of renewal and loss. But Tithonus will continue to live like an old man. Endless old age of Tithonus. Having been granted immortality, he varies from the kindly race of men. He is a white-haired shadow roaming like a dream at the quiet limit of the world. He is lonely, isolated, melancholic, and dwells in presence of immortal youth, a reminder of his folly to pass beyond the goal of ordinance. So, the godlike stature, the vanity of Tithonus is now gone. He is no god. Therefore, he is immortal and also aging at the same time, because the goddess made a mistake by not making him eternally young. He yearns for connectedness on earth, his release, and an eternal sleep in his grave. And where will he find his grave? On earth. Therefore, he wants to return to the dark world. He wants to be restored to the ground, symbolizing his acceptance of transience of life, inevitability of death. So, his vanity is gone. He feels terribly out of place in the gleaming halls of morn. So, he wants to rectify his mistake. So, 156 words, again a little bit of editing, and this answer is perfect. Question 8. Why wilt thou ever scare me with thy tears? Analyze the role of tears in the poem and their effect on Tithonus. What do you think Tithonus fears when Eos sheds tears, and how does this contribute to his longing for release? Eos, the goddess of dawn, sheds tears to hear Tithonus. These are tears of guilt and regret, foreboding Tithonus's bitterly ironic doom. Very important. Tears of guilt and regret. Keep this in mind, because Tithonus is responsible for his doom. Eos is also somewhat responsible for his doom, and she realizes this. Eos exercises her godly powers to grant him immortality. She makes him immortal with a smile, but now repents her carelessness in not making him eternally youthful. The response of Eos to Tithonus's plea, "Let me go, take back thy gift," is tears. This is her response, her inability to take back the gift. She departs in silence with her tears on his cheek, signifying irreversible nature of the gifts bestowed by gods. Tears show the dreadful pain of the lovers. Tithonus fails to experience the passion of love in his withered old body. Tithonus sees Eos's tears and he realizes that he is trapped. He longs for release because these tears indicate that he has to suffer the agony of aging, trapped in the burdensome immortal existence without the release of death. Thus, he becomes restless for returning to the earth to lie in his grave. Explain the meaning of "I, earth in earth, forget these empty courts." Alliteration. "And thee returning on thy silver wheels." Eos's youth and beauty become an inescapable torment to Tithonus. Trapped in Eos's gleaming halls of morn and being marred, wasted, and maimed into a grey shadow, he wishes to return to earth. He accepts the transience of life and inevitability of death and wants to have the power to die. After his death, he will lie buried in his grave. Earth to earth means he will lie buried in his grave, completely forgetting the empty and desolate state of immortality. The word the refers to Eos, the goddess of the dawn. Earth in earth, he, being made of clay, will remain on earth, return to the soil. So just change this, make a little correction over here. Return to the soil. Empty quotes means palace courts of Eos in the eastern sky. I have used semicolon and I have given you the meanings of the words and expressions. Eos will be coming back every morning in her silver chariot drawn by her horses. Eos will come and then return. She will perform her daily duties as the goddess of the dawn, and Tithonus will peacefully lie buried in his grave. These lines suggest Tithonus' longing for death, the humble mortal fate that he earlier rejected. So death is a natural relief.